Thank you for this small introduction. Very good evening, everyone. Myself, Bhrunali Gokhe, and I work with Accenture Design Studio. So today, basically, we are going to, explore the fascinating intersection of artificial intelligence and emotional design. We are also going to see how this pairing can help, you know, uh, to understand the user experiences. I'll be showcasing the real world examples in order to, understand the ideas in a much better way. So let's dive in. So, what is the role of AI in emotional design? And to understand that, it's very important to understand how AI basically functions. So, AI is being categorized into three different categories, that is artificial narrow intelligence, generative AI, and artificial general intelligence. I would like to quote few examples for you guys to understand what these categories are basically talking about. So, artificial narrow intelligence, you must be knowing that you must be aware of these products like smart speakers, the platforms like web searches, the AI inbuilt car dashboards, and so on. That's where artificial narrow intelligence comes into picture. The generative AI, which is the next one, uh, everyone in our day-to-day activities must be, using any of the platforms which are being generated using the generative AI. Few of them I would like to name it as Cloud AI, uh, Google Gemini, Copilot, and few of the designing softwares are Midjourney and DALL-E. And the third one, that is artificial general intelligence. It's nothing but an AI which can do anything a human can do. So this is the basic, differentiation, or a way AI basically performs. Now, moving on to the role of AI in terms of emotional design, there are five stages which everyone should understand to, understand the role of an AI. So, every point I'll be sharing an example in order to convey the concept in a much better way. Talking about creating emotional intelligence system. When we say emotionally intelligent system, it means empathizing with the end users, a platform which can empathize the user. There is a very good application name as Effectiva, which is nothing but, it actually gains insights from the user's facial expression. So, for example, if the user is using any product, so by looking at the expression or capturing the facial expressions, the platform can actually gather the emotional insights. So that's what creating emotionally intelligent system refers to. The second one is bridging the human machine gap. Again, the relevant example to this particular section would be Tesla's, in car AI integration, which actually recognizes driver's fatigue and pushes an alert message which ensures safety, and by it also make decisions based on the inbuilt inputs which are being provided by the users, such as traffic conditions, uh, uh, I would say the conditions of the road, and so forth and so on. The third point, which says application across industry. So here I would like to mention one of my latest example where I have worked on. So I was creating a DAB platform for one of my client, uh, where, so basically DAM is nothing but a platform, a repository for storing their assets, brand assets. So there we have integrated AI searches to uh, explore more of the metadata. Secondly, we integrated AI uh, with the design softwares. so that the designers can edit those assets then and there instead of having a third party software installation. Even if it's not there, the the functioning won't stop. The fourth one, that is emotion recognition and real time feedback. For this, again, there is a very good example. There is a platform named Zendesk. So this platform is nothing but a customer support platform, and what it does, it actually detects the frustration. So if the platform detects any negative sentiment, the query will be escalated to human agent. So that's how the emotions are being recognized and the right solution or a feedback is being provided. And the last point, it says is enhancing personalization. So we all know that in this era of AI, every tool which is there in the market is providing a personalization or a customization in some or the other way. So moving on, we must understand the principles when we talk about emotional design. Uh, I think almost everyone, or especially the designers, must be aware about all these concepts, but not particularly in terms of technical terms. So let me take you to this. So three principles of emotional designs are behavioral and reflective. When we say versatile, it's nothing but the aesthetical appeal of the product. The second, behavioral, how that product is being used. What is the user experience of the product which is being provided to the end user? And the third, that is the deeper understanding of the product and what value it has been adding while using that particular product. Let's see this with an example. When I think of Apple as a brand, the the first thought which comes to my mind is the sleek design which it provides and the minimal look and feel. Talking about its behavior, yes, it gives a fantastic user experience. Also, it provides best safety measures. And similarly, for reflective, everyone must have been using the smartwatches. So, in spite just providing the time, it also gives you an additional value added. For example, giving you a health or fitness updates, maybe adding a value to your current lifestyle. So that's how these principles are being measured and kept in mind. So as we will be designing the experiences, or a platform or a product using emotional intelligence, it is also required to understand how the users are going to react to that particular product or a platform, and those needs to be measured using few techniques. Here are few of them. First is emotion mapping, user surveys, AI powered tools. So I'll support all the three techniques with an example for better understanding. So emotion mapping is nothing but visualizing the emotion in a form of a journey, like how the user reacts. So for example, let's take an application, a login screen. If it doesn't have a register now button, just imagine the frustration a user must be having. And similarly, there is a very good example for emotion mapping, where a well-known brand like Coca-Cola has used emotion, AI and emotion, for their latest ad campaign to connect with the end users. The second technique is user surveys. So what user surveys does are not different from the Google surveys what we perform during our research phase. And the third is AI powered platform. When we say AI powered platform, so as I already quoted one of the very good example, that is Effectiva, which tracks the and takes the insights using the facial expressions. Another example I would like to quote here is KLM Airlines, which is again a customer support platform, which actually, uh, you know, tracks the queries using the voice of tone and the text uh, to understand the user behavior. So, uh, these are few techniques which we should consider. Uh, Talking about designing for emotional intelligence, there are four areas which we should consider, and we'll understand these four stages with a very good example. So there is an application named as uh, Calm app, which is basically used for meditation and sleep support. So let's understand this with a scenario. For example, we are using a Calm app where the user puts an input prompt, maybe, which says, uh, let's say, get a sleep faster or relieve stress. So based on this input, the application will collect the data and throw a reply saying, based on the emotion, the current emotion, it will provide a mood slider to the end user. Now, moving to the emotional analysis, the user input which is being taken by the application, it will understand how the emotions of the user are being uh, gathered. So it will perform an algorithm where it will see how frequently the user uses these phrases. For example, is it every so and so period the user actually uses this phrase, for example, relieve stress or get sleep faster. So based on that, it will create a pattern, and based on that pattern, it will throw an adaptive response. When we say adaptive response, it means that the user is facing an uh, emotional uh, I would say sentiment, for which the user might need an extra emotional boost up or a support. So the application will throw a, a push notification, a motivational push notification, which might say that you need to take extra care of yourself. It's high time to get down to bed. So these are few examples how adaptive responses actually react. And moving towards the last one, that is user feedback, it is nothing but, for example, if the user has completed one of the meditation session within the application will throw a pop-up message saying that, can you rate this application, or do you have any comment, how can we improve the user experience in order to tailorize the content in a much better way. So these are few practices which we actually should consider while creating or creating any product or an application based on these ideas. Uh, there are few case studies, out of which Calm we have just discussed. There is Spotify and Duolingo. I would like you guys to go and check this, case studies, which is particularly based on AI and emotional intelligence. We don't have that much time that I could explore this in detail, but yeah, a very good recommendation, I would say. Uh, so, talking about the challenges and consideration when we talk about AI and emotional intelligence, privacy concerns, definitely they are, a very crucial part of it, where the consent with the end users and how the data is being responsibly used needs to be conveyed. When we say ethical consideration, we must follow the ethical guidelines in order to be, safeguarded with the recent deepfake crimes which are being going in the current scenarios. To tackle biases and fairness, I would say AI model needs to be frequently monitored or audited, and also AI can be trained in a way with a vast data set with multiple diverse demographics, cultures and contexts, where we can actually reduce the biasness and move towards the fairness of providing the solution. And the last, that is user transparency. So when we say user transparency, here the end user must know how AI is being AI is being used to influence their emotional experiences in order to have that trust while using any of the applications. So here I would like to end my session and open the forum for Q&A. Uh, I would like to have open thoughts, not just the questions, any suggestions, any thoughts on the topic. I know it was a small presentation due to time constraints. There is a lot we could actually explore. But yeah, I would like to hand it over to the team.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bhrunali. So yes, as Renee mentioned, write in your questions on whichever platform you're watching this on, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, our platform, and I'll gather all those questions through. But I'm going to just get the ball rolling because it was a great example of the adaptive responses with CAM. Um, but I'm just thinking practically, how would a designer or researcher or developer, how would you prototype that out, or how would you design something that's like adaptive so it can go in many different ways?
So when we say adaptive, it's basically more towards the responsive sides of it. So for example, nowadays it's very in trend and very important to have a design which is very responsive across all the platforms, right? And for that, we do have a plugins within Figma. We have multiple tutorials which we need to explore, because Figma has recently come up with very latest AI integrations which can help us create, prototypes, high fidelity designs in a much more responsive way.
So I guess my question was less about adaptive. Like I guess that's the screen sizes and being able
Right,
to kind of work on a mobile as well as a desktop.
right,
But where I'm going with my mind is that when I'm designing something, I think of a nice linear flow, and it's nice and neat, and it's very easy because it's kind of step one goes to step two, goes to step three. But and I guess I think unless I misunderstood the point about the adaptive, is it kind of realizes, okay, you don't need to go through steps two and three. You can jump to step four because it understands more about you rather than being a dumb system that always makes people go through all the steps. Is that correct in my understanding, or did I misinterpret it?
So when we say adaptive, we go through a particular process, right? As you mentioned. So we just cannot jump to the final stage. And we all know that designing it's all about process, right? So we do the iteration maybe from different stages, but we cannot jump to the final stage. So for creating any of the application or product, we have to go through multiple stages. So we when we say stages, there are five different stages which we actually follow while creating any design or a solution, right? So those five steps are definitely mandatory to be followed.
Okay, so it's actually following the exact same process internally when you're building it as you would a normal pre-AI application.
Right.
Right. Um, and the other question I had, I know that you were kind of tight for time, but you mentioned Duolingo, and I've heard a lot about the potential for AI in, particularly in education, because you have that one-on-one tutor, which is kind of infinitely better than, or well, two orders of magnitude better than a classroom environment. So, do you have any examples of what Duolingo are doing in the space? Because I've heard a lot about it, but I've yet to see a really good product coming out in the space.
Yes. So AI integration, when we say in educational sector, it has taken a vast turn and has done a lot of it and given to the educational sector. There was one of the case studies where I was researching. I will give my live example. I was a person during my schooling where I never used to like to study history as a subject. But nowadays, there are platforms where history is being, history has been made so interesting using the 3D animations which we have, the 3D integrations which we have within AI, also using a storytelling, which is one of the very good aspect when we talk about presentation. So instead of having just a boring textbooks, today they actually have a 3D animation to be explained how history happened, how the events happened in the past. Which, so as we all know, that visuals actually gives human uh, you know a visualization, an image of what has happened, which actually brings curiosity within the students to understand and bring that I would say curiosity to learn more. So that's how AI has been contributing and adding a value within the educational sector.
Great. Yeah. And I guess that's that interactive bit as well, because each student
Yes,
goes at a slightly different pace. Yeah.
right.
We have a question come in from Matthew. Thanks for the insightful presentation. I'm curious if you have any specific examples of how one can address or avoid inherited bias in AI.
Can you please repeat?
So Matthew's asking if you have any examples. So you talked about the risk of bias. So he's
Right.
asking if you have any examples of how one can address it or avoid bias. So what can they do to proactively make sure that doesn't happen?
When we say bias, it's not just with the AI which is happening nowadays. Even we as humans have that bias factor, right? For example, if you like any particular application, right, and if you are frequently using it, you will have that bias intent towards using that again and again, even though the competitor of that particular platform might have come up with some new add-on feature or so. So in that case, being, since we as a designer, we should avoid having biases. Reason being, if a designer is on the neutral phase, one can actually explore many opportunities which are being provided uh, to the competitive products for actually with whom we are working on. So to have that open mindedness, we should have that neutral space and explore the various opportunities, being a competitor or the new trends which are being there in the market. So that's how you grow. uh, and yeah, so and talking about the bias in terms of AI, so how AI basically has that bias effect, I would say it's because of the machine. The particular algorithm has been set, and to tackle that biases, I have already mentioned that we can have a multiple diverse data set where we can train a AI or audit an AI model with by providing multiple diverse demographics, cultures, and new contexts, so that even the AI should not have that bias in providing any end result to the users.
It's a great point about making sure there's diverse input. There's also a fantastic interview. I can't remember the name of the person in OpenAI, but they talk about red teaming, where they actively go in and try to find all of the biases and all of um,
Right.
the breakage points in their models. So yeah, I'd recommend looking up red teaming. Um,
That's a great input.
we have another question, but unfortunately we're just out of time. So maybe what we'll do is we'll post that question and on our Slack channel. I'll invite you, Bhrunali, to come and answer it there as well. And there's a
Sure,
comment as
sure.
well about sharing the video link. So if you just want to post that on our private chat
Of
here,
course, of course. I'll just do that right away.
brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Bhrunali.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much, audience, for being being there till the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you.